Call this meeting to order. Please rise and join me in reciting the pledge, and stay standing as Monsignor Bliss from St. Philomena's leads us in prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks as we approach our Thanksgiving holiday. We're particularly thankful for our harvest, for the safety of our farmers, and for their abundant crop this year and seeing them through successfully. And so we thank you in a special way, Lord, for all that has passed. We're also thankful for those that have assisted us through this pandemic and continue to do so, especially in our area. And pray for that to lessen and to be eradicated in the future. So in the meantime, please bless those that are suffering from the virus and for their families, for all of our healthcare workers, particularly within our area. We pray for those of our families that will be traveling this Thursday for this holiday weekend, and for their safety and for their time together, perhaps for the first time in a year or two. Please bless them, and may this be a time of great renewal in our love of families. Bless now our meeting and the good things that we will discuss and put forward in the weeks and months ahead. We ask all of this in thy holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Ms. Muse? Here. Ms. Stevens? Here. Ms. Harlan?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Boat? Mr. Brock?
Here.
Mr. Burris?
Here.
And Mr. Kuhn?
Here.
No quorum.
Thank you. Public participation, in-person participation. This is an opportunity for the public to provide public comment to the presiding officer. Those wishing to speak are required to sign in prior to commencement of the meeting and must address the council from the seat and table provided. The public comments must comply with Ordinance 2014-02 and be limited to 5 minutes or less. Remote participation. This is an opportunity for the public to provide public comment to the presiding officer. The public comments must comply with Ordinance 2014-02 and be limited to 5 minutes or less. At this time, members of the public are able to attend public meetings by web conference and to submit public comment by email, voicemail, or through web conference. There's no one in the audience this evening that wants to address the council. Is there anyone online, Maura? Thank you very much. Moving on now to the consent agenda. Approval of documents and action items listed. Claims report. Claims data November 9th through November 22nd, 2021. Meeting minutes. City Council meeting minutes, November 8th, 2021. Budget report, October 2021. Treasurer's report, September 2021. Treasurer's report, October 2021. Police report, October 2021. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Moved.
Is there a second? Any questions or concerns? Hearing or seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Muse?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock? Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report. The Sangamon Valley CEO is having an investor coffee tomorrow from 7:30 to 9 o'clock a.m. at Slate at Slate John, I'm sorry, I can't read this evening. As investors of this program, I encourage the council to stop by and meet this year's class. This weekend is Polar Express and the Reds of Christmas, both sold out events in downtown. Next weekend is Polar Express, Lunch with Santa on the Train, opening night of the Allerton Holiday Showcase, and Winter Wellness Walk. The Christmas parade is next Saturday at 11:30. The city council will be participating. I assume we've done it in the past. I know that I've already told them that I was going to be there, and I assume that some of the council were going to be there. If you are going to participate, would you let me know so that I can make sure we have enough vehicles to take care of all of you? Please support your local small businesses for Small Business Saturday this Saturday. Be patient and kind as everyone is dealing with staffing and supply shortage. New business, resolution 2021-62, a resolution approving agreement with Kirby Medical Center for ambulance services. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2021-62 enters the city of Monticello into an agreement for ambulance services and other associated programs with the Kirby Medical Center ambulance. We started this agreement back in 2020. So it's an actual signed agreement, and it's executed on an annual basis. This year, based on the population of Monticello and the 2020 census, it should be $29,705. We currently have in the FY 2022 budget a $30,000 line item for this expenditure. It is recommended the City Council further discuss and approve Resolution 2021-62 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2021-62, a resolution approving an agreement with Kirby Medical Center for ambulance services? Is there a second? Any comments or questions of Terry before we vote? Hearing or seeing none, may I have a roll call, please, Jill?
Ms. Mears?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2021-63, an ordinance approving the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the City of Monticello and Don Pyatt III concerning the property located at 108 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois. Callie.
Thank you, Mayor. This and the following four ordinances are just extensions for what was approved back in the end of June for the building improvement grant. As you are probably aware, the construction industry is having a severe material and labor shortage issue. So I know they've gotten the majority of their materials in, but now they're dealing with the weather. And it's 4 buildings that are impacted for all of these. And so because they can't help what they can't help, they are asking, or we're providing them, asking you to provide them an extension to June 30th of 2022. So ordinance 2021-63 is for 108 West Washington, and that is for the building improvement grant portion of the project for $4,677 to extend it to June 30th of 2022.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 20-63, an ordinance approving the First Amendment of redevelopment agreement between the City of Monticello and Don Pyatt III concerning the property located at 108 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
So they're reimbursed once the project is done, is that correct?
Correct.
So for us, we just keep our money another.
Yeah, we've already made the appropriate accommodations for the budget.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing or seeing none, can I have a vote, please, Jill? Paul?
Ms. Mears?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat? Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2021-64, an ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Tax Increment Financing District Redevelopment Agreement between the City of Monticello and Don Pyatt III or concerning the property located at 108 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois. Same thing,
Same project, but
this one,
this is the TIF supplement portion of that grant.
okay?
So it's in the amount of $2,048, not
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2021-64, an ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Tax Increment Financing District Redevelopment Agreement between the City of Monticello and Don Pyatt III concerning the property located at 108 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois? Is there a second? Any comments or questions before we proceed? Roll call, please.
Ms. Muse?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock? Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2021-65. An ordinance approving the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the City of Monticello and Wells and Gabarzik PC concerning the property located at 112 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois. Once again, this is just an extension because of problems with the weather and problems with getting the materials necessary for the plans that they have in place. Correct?
nothing more to add.
Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Jill, can I have a vote, please? Roll call.
Ms. Muse?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2021-66, an ordinance approving the First Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the City of Monticello and MSE Redevelopment LLC concerning the property located at 114 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois. Anything to add, Callie, to what you've already mentioned?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2021-66?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Muse?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Ordinance 2021-67, an ordinance approving the First Amendment to the Tax Increment Financing District Redevelopment Agreement between the City of Monticello and MSF Redevelopment LLC concerning the properties located at 110, 112, and 114 West Washington Street, Monticello, Illinois. There's nothing to add, correct?
It's just the TIF portion not to exceed 15,871.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2021-67?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, can I have a roll call?
Ms. Muse?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock? Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
Thanks a lot. Moving on to resolution 2021-68, a truth and taxation law resolution. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I begin, I'd like to commend Callie on her efforts in administering these redevelopment agreements. They're very time consuming. This is a process, not only legally, but logistically to make things happen. So thank you, Callie, for allowing us to dot our i's and cross our t's. Very time consuming process. Resolution 2021-68, Truth and Taxation Law Resolution. State statute established procedures and requirements for determining the amount of money necessary to be raised from a property tax levy by a municipality in accordance with the Truth and Taxation Law. The City Council must approve an estimated tax levy at least 20 days prior to the adoption of the final levy. If the estimated property tax levy is less than 105% of the prior year, the city would not be required to advertise its intent and hold a public hearing on the levy. City administration has estimated the FY 2022 property tax levy to be $800,150. which is approximately 4.9% over the previous year's levy. The FY 2022 tax levy ordinance will be placed on the December 13th, 2021 City Council approval. That exceeds that 20-day minimum. A draft copy of that ordinance was provided to you in your packets. So it is recommended the City Council establish the tax levy amount of $800,150 and approve resolution number 2021-68 as provided.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 20-21, a truth and taxation law resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there comments or questions? Now is the time. Anyone? Hearing or seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Mears,
Yes.
Ms. Stevens,
Yes.
Ms. Harlan,
Yes.
Ms. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Brock, Mr. Burris,
Yes.
Mr. Coon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item H on the agenda, Oberheim Park update discussion only. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to back up a little bit. I'd like to thank Maura Metcalf for all her efforts on the truth and taxation levy resolution. She does a tremendous job of running all those finance numbers on the city's behalf. So thank you, Maura. Oberheim Park update. This is just a brief statement. And then if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I'd just run into the budget discussion. I have just a couple of things to add to that. That's for this. Oberheim Park, I have requested a proposal from a engineering firm to do a feasibility study based upon more or less that new donated possible donation of the property the Allerton Public Library owns. So I gave you a draft version of the property that's kind of directly north of our 30 acres. It's kind of that little piece by the legend in that aerial photograph. So I have asked for a feasibility study, be prepared for inclusion. And then this is rolling into the budget discussion for inclusion into the FY22 budget. I should have that, I think, maybe by the end of this week, but I'll definitely have it for your packets for that December 13th City Council meeting to talk on the final budget numbers. So I don't have that proposal quite yet. I just wanted to explain that that's coming your way at the next City Council meeting. And then as far as the budget goes, I didn't print new pages because I'm going to print new ones at the December 13th meeting, but under capital fund and capital improvements, general fund capital improvements on page 13, on line 701, that's the Oberheim Park. Again, I'm waiting. I've got $50,000 in there. That was for the remainder of the DCC marketing agreement that the Recreation Foundation entered into. Again, council approved $500,000 be earmarked for the development of Oberheim Park. So I'm waiting for that feasibility study. That $50,000 will, that addition, and I don't even know what it's going to cost, what I would be proposing, but it would be above and beyond that $50,000. And then on the same page 13, on line 714, council agreed to include in the FY22 budget a comprehensive plan update and a strategic plan update. Callie has worked diligently on getting a request for proposals for those two items. After receiving those, in conjunction with prior conversations we've had this year about a housing study, there would be financial benefit if we went ahead and did a housing study alongside comp plan and the strategic plan. So at the next city council meeting, that line item that's now $50,000, I'll show you it'll be $65,000 to do the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, and a housing study alongside those two plans. The other thing I wanted to talk about real briefly tonight before December 13th city council meeting as far as budget. Page 19, the motor fuel tax money. After the last city council meeting, there was some interest perhaps in making improvements to State Street. I met with the planning development director, Jim Gabarzik, and the engineer that has done ESCA Consultants that performs most of, if not all of our motor fuel tax projects. And we feel that pursuing a different type of surface for Grant Street. If you recall, we were doing some preliminary engineering for Livingston Street and Grant Street this year. That was going to roll over to next year. Some of that is still going to roll over to next year. But in this conversation with the engineer, there are benefits if we were to, on Grant Street, that now Lincoln School is no longer operating as a school. We know that the school district is going to be putting that out to bid. There would be benefits to maybe doing some sort of surface treatment similar to County Farm Road, Fissler Road. The biggest change is if the surface is a good surface, it'll be a huge improvement. But when you do that type of surface, it's a maintenance program. So you don't have to do all of those sidewalks that are normally required with a street full-blown rehabilitation project. So every time you have a sidewalk that has the ADA compliant ramp on it, each one of those, one ramp is about $10,000. You know, and if you get an intersection with two ramps, you ease math, there's $20,000. So what we'll be proposing is to look at doing some other surface treatment similar to County Farm Road for Grant Street. And then looking at doing some preliminary engineering in FY22 for State Street. Does that make sense of what the MFT might be revised to reflect at the December 13th city council meeting? I just wanted to keep the council apprised of what staff is entertaining and trying to get the most bang for our buck here.
So on Fissler, that's rock and chip, correct?
So what they do, what that'll entail is they come in and they do some milling, like at driveways. So what I would envision on Grant Street, they'd kind of mill out from the flag or curb, mill an inch and a half, 2 inches depth, and then they come in and they actually put through a paver cold patch. Instead of hot mix asphalt, it's cold mix, and they run it through a paver so it recreates the proper crown, cross slope, and everything on the street. Gets rid of any inundations and so on and so forth. Then they roll, it's actually rolled in, and then they come back after a couple of weeks, and then they do a seal coat, oil and chip. And then after that's done, they come back in a couple of weeks later, and then they do that fog, what they call a fog coat. So they spray that oil and chip seal coat with another emulsion, oil, that covers everything up, seals everything up, and then it's black. So it looks nice, doesn't track, there's no dust, so on and so forth that you might occasionally see with oil and chip seal coats. So it's still a lengthy process. But what we've seen and what we've witnessed from the engineer on other projects he's done, Champaign and other areas, we're really leaning to doing that on Grant Street. And it falling under maintenance. You don't have to do all the survey work. You don't have to do all the sidewalk replacement, curb and gutter replacement. We fixed the road, the travel surface where it's very nice. I think County Farm Road.
Yeah.
You know, so far it has turned out really well. Other projects that have been down longer, we're still getting high marks from the engineer on some of those. So the traffic volume on Grant compared to the traffic volume on State, now that the school's not there, the dynamics have changed a little bit from Grant to State. So that's kind of what staff is leaning towards.
Sounds.
Is that what's on the D-Land road? Going towards D-Land? Is it?
Similar way south of town towards Beamont has that
Oh, okay.
surface on it.
They did a similar thing all the way on 105 to Beaman.
With Monticello Christian on State Street now, it's, you know, some of that school traffic is moved over to State Street from there, not the same volume, but. And then nothing.
Yeah.
Is this type of surface, is it got a good shelf life? Does it last? Is it durable?
I believe so, Mayor. I mean, when the state did 105, you know, that was kind of a telltale sign
I guess that's.
that it can hold up to that volume and that rate of speed. So I think it would be more than that.
I'm just trying to say, it's not a shortcut. It's something that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Things have changed so much in that area of town since the schools closed there. I just think it makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah.
That's just me.
So with that process, there would not be intention to do sidewalks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think any sidewalks would be done by our Public Works Department in-house.
So not to miss the Oberheim Park update. Ballpark, what are you thinking it's going to be? I mean, we're talking about, there's $50,000 set aside already, and then you're talking about adding more to the budget, but we don't have any idea, any ballpark, 30, 50?
Robert C. Burke Memorial Park, that feasibility study, 30?
22.
22,000.
Okay.
This is a lot more detailed as far as infrastructure, water, sewer, underground utilities. So a lot of similarities, but you know, a handful of differences. So I would say it'll be more than the 22,000.
That gives us something to work with. That's all. Okay.
Anyone else?
But I think, and that's a good question, Alderman Burris, but really the key component to that feasibility study, if you recall from Robert C. Burke Memorial Park, is they generated some opinion of cost.
Mhm.
So as we, you know, kind of peel this onion off and we're going down that road, we really do need an updated opinion of cost for those that are fundraising and the Rec Foundation and all that. You know, that will be one of the key components of that study.
So you're not talking about just this area, you're talking about the whole park feasibility study.
Yeah, the whole, yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
I just didn't get that clear in my
We
mind.
did one before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's been
11.
I know. How much was it then? Sorry.
I mean, that one really was part of, we did the whole civil site development plans. So we went down a different road and avenue than just a feasibility study. So I think this is the route to go instead of doing full-blown civil engineering plans at this point. Now that we have that, you know, the Allerton Public Library District did verbalize, we have no agreement in hand yet. They did verbalize that they wanted to give us some acreage. Mayor Stoner and I met with the new librarian and board chair and vice chair, board president, vice president, had a great meeting. They are still interested in participating with this project. And they're excited, I think would be fair to say. We still have to talk to the adjacent property owner to the north of the library, Heartland Pathways, to get, you know, if this future road goes across their property. So we still have a lot of legwork, a lot of work to do.
And this is just a rough draft, like this is just a general outline
Yeah.
of what it would look like.
Yep. There was an engineering firm that offered to do a new rendering at no cost.
Okay.
So it was the same engineering firm that did Robert Burke Park, Nix Park. Very familiar with Monticello, Jeff Martin. So kind of put this together on, and that's just kind of a vision. When you start putting pen to paper and really getting everything nailed down, that may change, but that's kind of the vision based upon not only the rec committee or the Oberheim Development Committee, but other stakeholders, Amber Oberheim, obviously. So that's just the vision today.
I'd love to ask a question about it.
Yeah.
I just am curious if there's any discussion, because the water part piece, right, that's not already there. That would be like a recreational little lake area, right, like kayaking sort of thing.
Yeah,
Is that
the
correct?
first and foremost, it's stormwater management. So it's gonna.
Let me rephrase the question, sorry. Is there a reason that it's positioned here versus elsewhere? Like, is that specifically because of the way the water flows that it would go there?
Yeah, there's a field tile near there that we may have to tie into. So that's kind of where it was at in 2011, and making it a more extended, natural looking water feature than just a square body of water.
I was just curious because the houses here in Apple Tree, you know, are these other fields are really close to their backyards. So I just was, as I was looking at it, thinking, you know, maybe it has to be like this feature would have to be here versus putting, you know, for those people whose houses butt right up to it. That's, you know, with the field being right there.
I see what you're saying, but those are like soccer fields and football fields,
Yeah.
where it's not, the baseball fields are on the other side away from the
Yeah,
house.
that's true. Right. Exactly. But I just, you know,
I see what you're saying.
as I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh, if I lived there, you know, might be nicer to look at a pond view versus a big, you know, a field where people are going to be gathering frequently.
Easily.
So I was just curious.
Any other questions tonight for that, Oberheim, or the budget?
So in the feasibility study, they will look at what the committee discussed. and doing the feasibility. I'm assuming, we want to keep the costs to a minimum. If we did everything that was the dream, the cost may not be what we want. I just want to make sure that they'll be taking the committee report.
Oh, certainly. I think I would think so.
The only reason I say that, one of the things that I don't see in this rendering are pickleball courts. And I think that was a strong recommendation from the people that we talked to and the committee. Now those don't take up as much space, but they would consider that when they.
Yeah, I think we need to keep in mind, this is a vision. There's no engineering, no planning to this.
No,
It's just a vision, and those smaller footprint amenities are easier to place than a football field.
I just don't want to get too far down the road and say, hey, this was, doesn't completely align with what the recommendations of the committee. Now, and those are completely just recommendations.
Well, weren't there,
That was one thing that I didn't see in this one. That's the only reason I asked. And I understand this is just somebody's rendering.
Aren't they playing pickleball
at Burke Park?
Yeah.
There were new ones going in there, weren't there?
I think if you're going to do this, you need 6 or 8 courts.
Because I don't want to totally pull stuff away from there either.
Oh, that's true. That's good.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we want to keep that.
Yes.
I think we need to think about age groups too. Because people in my age group are much more inclined to go somewhere in town rather than that far out.
Yeah, I completely agree with
Yeah.
that. But our overall inventory of
I was just saying,
I'm going to get a pickleball.
yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah.
Is there a lot of weight at the pickleball court? Just
Yes.
curiosity, is it
Did you say what? A lot of what?
waiting?
Oh.
There's a lot of lineup and sign up, or I'm just curious. 6 to 8 seems like a lot, because we're like,
And it might be, but I mean, it's the fastest growing sport out there. And
I think we're getting into too much detail about something that is something that can be discussed in the future with the recommendations of the committee.
Right.
But we don't need to get, this, a great big thing going about. If you think I'm out of line, go ahead and.
I just wanted to emphasize that the recommendations from the committee.
That's what I'm sure that we will take those seriously into account.
That's all I have.
Anyone else have any questions? Let's go on to Alderman's reports. Let's start with Mary.
Good tonight, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So Ward 1, to the best of my knowledge.
Wendell?
We don't have anything. Looks like leaves have all fallen for the most part in town. Some people are putting them in the street, some people are putting them in bags, but it's looking better in the last week or so. Doing well. I had a complaint from someone on the board a few days back that they had gone to the landfill last Friday morning. You got some leaves and you couldn't get anywhere close to where you could dump them. The leaves were clattering into the road. Hadn't been pushed back, the pile hadn't been pushed back. Their question to me was why. I said, well, I'm busy, there's a lot going on. I have no idea. And I did try and contact Terry. I know you're probably busy, but I wasn't able to get through to him. So hopefully we can make some movement on that as fall goes along. I know it's tough to get people to do it every day, but there's a huge volume of stuff we can haul out there. And we just need to do a better job getting it pushed up out of the way so people can get in there and dump their stuff. Outside of that, I want to thank all of you who are gathering family for this Thursday to celebrate my birthday. I know you're all going to have meals, and I appreciate all that. Thank you so very much. Makes it really nice. Move along, right?
Why do I got to follow him?
What's your Ward 3?
No, I've got nothing to do.
Nothing today, Mike?
Nothing.
Nothing? Ashley?
Nothing other than I'm really going to enjoy eating some of your birthday pie. Thanks for sharing.
Sammy, are you having them over Thanksgiving? You're rather close there, so.
Yeah, why not?
You have a report this evening?
Again, kind of follow up to Wendell a little bit, because I had someone say the same thing, because they were having to back out. There was just no place to put the leaves and people were backing out and so forth. So they'd also mentioned pushing it back. But also the leaves uptown on the square are extremely bad this year. And I know everything is falling at once, but I don't know that I've ever noticed. There's always somebody up there blowing, cleaning, sweeping like early in the morning, I think before we get to work. And that's different this year. So it's very noticeable. The leaves were all out car length into the road today. So, and the sidewalks, and I just think it looks bad.
I think there was some communication about that today.
Yeah, they're gonna walk through, I think, Wednesday maybe. That way it's all, usually before we have a downtown event, they go through and clean everything out anyway. So hopefully that'll take care of it.
Okay. All I have.
Pam?
Nothing from me.
Thomas? Let's now hear from our police chief.
I wish you all a happy and safe Thanksgiving. As a reminder, if you're going to be out shopping Friday, anywhere, in town, out of town, lock your car doors and do not put any valuables in plain sight. People are going to take the opportunity. Nobody wants to work, but they want to get your stuff. So be safe about it. Next thing is, before the next meeting, Shopper Pop will happen. So if you want to volunteer, it's going to be on the 11th of December, and we welcome volunteers who want to help get kids where they need to be at the right time. So that's just moving groups of kids that hurting them, I guess.
That's it? Carry your report this evening?
Real quick, if you do want to join in the Christmas parade, please let Mayor Stoner know very, very quickly that we can get with the person that's running the parade, how many vehicles the city will be getting in there. And then check your emails. There was a email from somebody about the green waste facility. So I think it was sent to each and every one of you. So it's a well-written letter. So I'd check that out. And to that landscape waste, you know, we're grinding again hopefully in January. We really need to make improvements to that site for folks to be able to use it like they're using it earlier and longer. Because you know, it just, people dump stuff out further and further and further, and then you can't use it. We've got a water main break, and we have other things going on that we can't get it pushed up when we need to get it pushed up. So we need to just get that grinding done and make improvements to that site so the residents and some of the owners that do the lawn care service can use it more efficiently. But until we get to that point, it's, I guess, bear with us. We'll try to leave it open. We'll try to make accommodations. I tell you, once we get those freeze thaw cycles and there's that crust of frozen earth on top and the sun hits it and it's 10 a.m., it's slicker than snot out there. You can get in there, you can't get out. So we will try our best to make those accommodations, but really need to make improvements to that whole facility for it to be used and like being used.
Okay, any other information or questions that need to be brought to our attention this evening? Hearing or seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
One detail question on the 114.